What's happening, y'all? It's me coming back at you again with another vid. Now, I want to share you guys some very, very, very interesting news that I just learned today, and I am just befuddled, to be honest with you, to learn this. Now, if this actually was news a long time ago, then I really didn't catch this at all because this is very new to me. Okay. Now, we all know that Bob Arum has been speaking about the Leonard Hagler fight back in 1987, which at one point Bob Arum was the promoter of Marvin Hagler. Okay? He still calls that fight one of the biggest travesties in boxing's history. Of course, as a promoter of one fighter, you're going to look at that from a biased perspective because you're vouching for your fighter. But if you ask me, I think that was still a very close fight. It could have gone either way, but I felt Leonard won it because Hagler made the mistake by thinking that he can outbox Leonard by boxing orthodox, which is not his primary style. Not to say that Hagler has never boxed orthodox before. He has done it in his previous fights, with Tommy Hearns and Duran and Juan Roldan and Mugabe at some point in that fight. So, yeah. I just felt that I think that's what Hagler gave it away by doing that because there was no way he was going to outbox Sugar Leonard, so he had to switch it back to southpaw in the third and fourth round where he was able to pick up some momentum. But it is what it is. But the urban legend is that after that Leonard and Hagler fight, it was so controversial to the point that the public demanded to see the rematch. Everybody wanted, and Marvin Hagler was going out, chastising Leonard by saying, you give me my rematch right now, blah, blah, blah. But it turns out that Hagler got tired waiting for Leonard to respond, and so he decided to retire. He moved on with his life. He spent the majority of it in Italy. He did divide his life between Italy and Massachusetts and Brockton, where he's from. But obviously, he spends his primary life over there. But it turns out that's not the other way around because a lot of people were accusing Leonard for blatantly dragging out the process of trying to get the rematch to where he ducked Hagler for the rematch, given the fact that he didn't respond to him. So it turns out that Bob Arum came out and said that's not the case. Bob Arum is saying that it was Hagler who didn't want no part of the Leonard rematch. He ducked the fight. So this is what Bob Arum said. He said here, quote, I remember a year later at Caesar's Palace where we were having a big dinner to honor the fighters that had fought at Caesar's, and it was a really a salute to boxing. And at that dinner, they had Muhammad Ali there. I was there, of course. Tommy Hearns was there. Ray Leonard was there. Okay. Marvin was there, and Roberto Duran was there. And Ray called me over, and he says, Bob, go speak to him," meaning to Hagler. And Ray said, "Let's do the rematch right now. I'll do a fortune of the business." So I went over there. This is Bob Arum. I went over there and I talked to Marvin. And I said, "Look, Marvin, Ray asked me to come over and talk to you about doing the rematch." And Marvin looked at me with a scowl look and said, quote, "Tell that guy to get a life." So that was it. Man. We tried, and there was no use of trying it harder. Marvin wasn't having no more of it. So, according to Bob Arum, he was trying so hard to convince Marvin to do the rematch with Leonard. When Leonard finally responded at that dinner that night, where people at that time, the public was accusing Leonard of ducking the rematch by not responding to Hagler. So, this is according to Bob Arum. Unless Marvin Hagler could come out and give his side of the explanation of what went down that dinner that night. But if he doesn't, then we're going to have to take Bob Arum's word for it at this point. So, and it'll also be interesting to see what Sugar Ray Leonard has to say about this. But of course, Leonard's going to say, yeah, that actually happened. But again, there's always two sides to every story. Let's Marvin Hagler come out and let him respond to this because I think this is very interesting. And I'm very appalled by this, to be honest with you. So, let me know what your thoughts are on this. Honestly, if that rematch actually have taken place, I would have to favor Ray Leonard to win that fight, to be honest with you. Because Well, you know what? No, I take it back because I think it would be a 50-50 fight still because it was still an extremely close fight. If Hagler did not box orthodox like he did in the first few rounds, then maybe he would have won that first fight. If he took the rematch and just boxed his southpaw style, pressure style, then yeah, I would have. You could say, you know what, I would favor him to win the rematch, but still 50-50 fight if it went down. If Hagler decided, if Hagler declined it, had not declined it, I should say. But yeah, very interesting story. I'm going to drop a link to the article below, and you guys take a look at it. Let me know what your thoughts on this. And let me know what your thoughts on this hypothetically, who you thought would have won the rematch. I'm out. Peace.